Bonjour, guten Morgen and buenos dias from Mr. Wilson here. Unfortunately, I can't do this assembly live for you, but I'd still like to talk to you about European Week of Languages. It is that time again. All of you have experienced this in the past. Language lessons may be slightly different this week as we celebrate the whole world full of languages. 26th of January is what is called European Day of Languages. Obviously at HBS we decide to do it our own way and we take a whole week. And it's a celebration of languages from around the world. Lots of languages that are spoken in Europe but may not natively be from Europe. So as I said, lots of different things going on this week. Now I would like to talk to you about some fun language facts. I make no apologies for the fact that I'm a massive nerd when it comes to languages. And I was looking up just some, to be honest, I just Googled fun or interesting language facts and I thought I'd impart those to you now. Obviously, lots of different languages have their own idiosyncrasies, their own weirdnesses. English sometimes more often than anything else. But here we go. Let's have a look at some fun things that you may not have known about languages from around the world. So first off, the official language of space is Russian. The first man in space was called Yuri Gagarin, and he was from the Soviet Union. And therefore, the lingua franca, the main language of space, is Russian. The International Space Station used to be called Mir, which was the Russian word for peace. And all astronauts, therefore, if they're going to go and use the International Space Station, have to know Russian in order to kind of use the controls and things like that. Most languages have a relation in some way. So, for example, English is kind of a mixture of French and German, and Spanish and Italian are related to each other and things like that. But Basque, which is spoken in northern Spain, has no links to any other language whatsoever. So it's a total anomaly. No one really knows where it's from, and it even has its own numbering system. English has the largest vocabulary. We have more words than any other language. So it's about 750,000 words. So if somebody is trying to learn English, there's a hell of a lot of words that they need to be focusing on. I also found out about this word called an ambigram. So ambigrams can be turned upside down and they look exactly the same. So swims, for example, if you flip it over, it still looks like it says swims. It's the same with the word sons and dollop. I'd be interested to find out some more ambigrams. So if you know of any, find me out, let me know. So in addition to the 750,000 words that English has in its vocabulary, apparently we're gaining around about 5,000 per year. So it's about 14 every day, but only about 1,000 of these are made into, like, they come into the public use or general use. Obviously things like new technological words. Also recently we've had things like twerking, etc., that have been added to the dictionary. These are English words that are now used. So they aren't necessarily kind of posh words, I guess, or words that the Queen would maybe use. I can't imagine the Queen talking about twerking, but who knows? So yeah, so we generally take on about 1,000 of these ourselves. A synonym is a word that means the same as something else. So lots of you will know this word already. So for example, fast and quick. But synonym is one of the few words that doesn't actually have a synonym. So there is no other way to describe, or there is no other word that describes a word that means something else. Synonym is the only word that we have for that. The longest word that you can write in English without using vowels, remember vowels are A, E, I, O and U. The longest word you can write in English is rhythms. And the longest word you can make in English using only 4 letters is senseless. It actually is pretty long. Contractions we use all of the time. Contractions are things like when you say don't instead of do not. And I'd never realised until I was looking up stuff for this assembly that the word goodbye is a contraction of God be with you. Russian is officially the most spoken language in Europe. It's got 120 million native speakers. German is second with just under 100 million. So obviously part of Russia is in Europe, so it's counted as a European language. German has got just under 100 million people. So whilst Russian may be the most common language, German actually, in terms of spread, is often more spoken. That's not me just trying to sell German, although obviously everyone should be learning it. I looked up different alphabets, and Cambodian, which is also referred to as Khmer, contains 33 consonants. So just their consonants outnumber the number of letters that we have in our full alphabet. They've got 23 vowels and they have 12 independent vowels. I had to Google what an independent vowel was. I'm still not entirely sure. So if you want to look that up, please feel free and let me know. So onomatopoeia are words that indicate sounds. We know that, things like bang and pow and crash, etc. But they are different in each country. So I've always found it really interesting about what sounds animals make in different languages, because obviously animals, regardless of where they are in the world, they still make the same sounds, but the words we use to describe them are different. So for example, a frog in England says ribbit, but in Japan they say kero. So I've always found it quite intriguing actually to find out what different animals say supposedly in different languages. You may know that a palindrome is a word or phrase that's the same backwards as it is forwards. For example, something like race car. Mum is a palindrome because MUM backwards obviously is MUM. However, palindrome has an opposite, well, not an opposite, I guess. It's called a simordinalap, and a simordinalap is a word that spells a different word when it's spelled backwards. So for example, the word pots, we know what pots means, but if we spell it backwards, it spells the word stop. So it spells a different word. And simordinalap is actually the word palindromes backwards. French was the official language of the UK for 600 years. That's why around 30% of English words come from French. It's also one of the reasons why we've got two words for cow and beef. Because farmers were generally, they spoke common language, they used cow. That was from German. So because Old English was a Germanic language, the poor people who raised the cows called them cows. And the French word boeuf, because only rich people could afford meat, that's why we call the meat from a cow beef. So we've taken that from the French. In Spain, there's a language called Silbo, which is made up entirely of whistles. Now, I did a bit of extra research into this because I was sort of like, is that true? And it is. It's almost like yodeling. So yodeling was invented in Switzerland and Austria to communicate long distances, kind of like from one mountain to another, rather than having to go down one mountain and then up the next. And it's exactly the same with Silbo. So instead of yodeling, which is a type of singing, Silbo is just whistling. But a different whistle, like a different tone of whistle or a different kind of like speed, will mean different things. Also, apparently they've done brain scans on people when they're speaking English, and when we speak English we tend to only use the left side of our brain. But when they did the same brain scans on people who are speaking Mandarin, people were using both sides of their brain. So therefore it's quite often thought that people who are speaking Mandarin, they're using more of their brain whilst they communicate. Mandarin is also considered one of the most difficult languages to learn, if not the most difficult, and that's because it's got tones, which means that one word can be said in kind of 4 or 5 different ways, and if your tone is different, it means a different thing. However, from what I've heard, Mandarin grammar actually isn't too difficult. It's not too different from English grammar, so don't let that put you off learning Mandarin. So the longest word in Finnish, now I don't know why I found a Finnish word, but that's a pretty long word. I'm not going to try and say it because I have no idea how that is said. If there are any Finnish people out there that want to come and teach me how to say it, then please do. And apparently means doubtful. The Indonesian word air means water. I think that would perhaps be a bit confusing for English people. Also, I think it's pronounced air, but I don't know. Also, I found this out. So just under 8 billion people live on this planet, and over half of them speak 2 languages. So we're talking over more than, like pretty much more than 4 billion people speak more than 1 language. So quite often I hear people say, what's the point of learning other languages? Most people speak English. And do you know what? In instances, that is true. So sometimes, if depending on the country, sometimes you can go somewhere and you can be lulled into that full sense of security where you think that everybody speaks English. However, the fact that 4 billion people are clever enough to speak more than like 2 languages or more means that we shouldn't be lazy, we shouldn't be arrogant, we shouldn't just expect other people to learn ours. So join the club, become a fun bilingual person, and see the doors that it opens for you. Thank you very much for listening to my assembly, and I hope to see you around Languages Corridor enjoying your language lessons. Thank you. Tschüss, au revoir. Oh, what's it in Spanish? Adios, there you go, I remembered. Have a great day, boys. Thank you very much.